Every day, millions of policemen all over the world, Rome, Tokyo, New York, Hong Kong, Paris, are doing their jobs, risking their lives in the line of duty.
Mayday, we're being hijacked.
Hey guys, it's Will. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. Welcome back to the channel. My voice is a little hoarse. I was at a concert last night and I sang every word to basically every song, so I am a little bit hoarse. Let me know in the comments what the last concert you went to was, what your favorite live band is, what the best concert you've ever seen is, what your dream tour is, and all that fun stuff. And then I will hop in the comments and tell you what concert I went to last night. It's a band I've been wanting to see since 2002. Since March of 2002 is the first time I've ever seen them. It was really awesome. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about this, Hell to the Yes, the 88 films in the line of duty, freaking 4 Blu-ray plus amazing book, box set. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. That will be a huge help to the channel, and a huge shout out to our patrons who really help this channel run and basically make this channel run at this point. I was actually just talking to somebody right before I shot this video about how just the insane volume of releases that are coming out in the UK and the US right now, even with, I do get some review copies from certain labels, but I'm getting like some intense shadows on my face. I'm just messing with these lamps I have over here, just some production stuff. Don't worry about it. Even with like review copies I get and stuff, there would be no way that I would be able to do this channel at the level at which I'm doing it right now were it not for our patrons. So thank you so much. You can sign up for $2 a month, $5 a month. I've been doing a lot of exclusive videos over there recently. I did a cut comparison between the longer cut and shorter cut of Gorgeous, the Jackie Chan film, with like footage from the longer cut to show you what was taken out. I did a review of Esprit d'Amour, which is Ringo Lam's first movie. So, I love Ringo Lam. I was really excited to do that. I reviewed Aces Go Places. That was my Patreon exclusive last week. I've never seen that movie before, if you could believe that. Pedicab Driver, I did a Patreon exclusive review of that. So it's fun stuff over there. And I did a giveaway recently, Patreon exclusive giveaway too. So I'm going to tell you how I'm going to approach this, because this is a mammoth undertaking to be released as one box set. And on top of the fact that it's 4 films with buttloads of bonus material and a book in it, I reviewed all of these movies a couple months ago when the Eureka releases came out. So I don't want to repeat myself, and I don't want to do a video that's like 3 hours long. It's going to be my Tarkovsky length YouTube videos, my Andrei Rublev YouTube videos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a kind of combination review overview of this set. If you're in Region A, this is a Region A set, and you like Girls with Guns movies, you like action movies, you like martial arts films, if you love those 80s set Hong Kong films that are so unique to Hong Kong, where you have gunplay and martial arts fighting and incredible stunts at the same time. Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung obviously made incredible films within that genre, but then even like people like, Lau Kar-wing, right, directed Dragon Family, I think, and like, old school martial arts guys were getting in on it. And if you love that genre of films, if you like Michelle Yeoh, Cynthia Rothrock, Cynthia Khan, Donnie frickin' Yen, there's nothing not to like. These are incredible films, incredible presentations, great bonus material. All the clips you are seeing in here are from this release. I tried to use clips that I also used in my Eureka reviews. So if you want to, you can go back and compare the clips and see if there's any difference to your eyes. I didn't really notice a major difference. This thing on the back is a sticker, or it's like a piece of paper that's stuck on with little pieces of tape that you can see maybe here. So you can peel this off if you want, but I thought it would be easier to just leave it on there for the review. So there's each movie is in its own small black case here, which you can see. And then it also comes with a poster, and I have already shown, and there's actually 2 posters. I've shown this stuff off in a different video, but in case you missed that video, we might as well show. Here's Royal Warriors. Hell yes, that Sean Longmore artwork, which I absolutely love. And then here's the old school Hong Kong poster, which I also really like for that film. I'm going to put this over here. And then I believe we also have Yes, Madam. So this is, the poster here is the whole, the cover of the box. And then there's the old school Yes, Madam poster, which I love these colors here, the way the blue and the pink and the white. Yeah, it's really nice. And that is a classic film. So, and then you have this amazing booklet here. So here you have I like the way that they did kind of like the title card fonts there. So Matthew Edwards did this booklet, and I think Matthew Edwards is absolutely fantastic. Matthew Edwards has edited and written various books on cinema, and was, a writer for the Jackie Chan Fan Club magazine back in the day. And so you have Police Assassins, an interview with Shan Tam and Michael Parker, plus archive Royal Warriors imagery, which is put together by Matthew Edwards. Yes, Madam, archive picture gallery. Force of the Dragon by Matthew Edwards, an interview with Stephen Berwick, and archive In the Line of Duty 3 imagery. And then you have something called Red Force by Matthew Edwards, an interview with Michael Woods, and archive In the Line of Duty 4 imagery. I've already shown this booklet off like pretty extensively in the last video I did where I showed my pickup. So I'm just going to do like a quick flip through here. As you can see, there's tons and tons of posters and images, and I mean, amazing interviews in here. And this is a really, really fantastic booklet. So I would highly recommend picking this up for the posters, the booklet, the box art. I mean, a lot of people have said they're either double dipping with the Eureka and the 88 just to get the 88 artwork, or they decided to get the 88 solely because of the artwork. So let's go through one disc at a time. Royal Warriors. I freaking love this movie. I had never seen this before the Eureka release came out. This was released in 1986. So it was the second film released in the series, but when they decided to retroactively make it a series, this became first. Frank Jang does a great job in the commentary tracks that are spread across these discs of talking about this series and how it's not really a series. And they kind of reverse engineered the notion that the films were connected, and all of the insane titles all of these movies have had over the course of so many years in so many countries with so many different releases. That's really great information there. And you learn a lot about how these films were released. In a nutshell, this film is about, so Michelle Yeoh here and Hiroyuki Sanada, who is here, and then Michael Wong, they're all different law enforcement officers. I think he's Interpol, I think she's a Hong Kong cop, and he is like an air marshal or something like that. And they run afoul of these very bad guys. And one of the things I love about this movie is that the bad guys have this really fantastic backstory where you find out why they're so close to one another, why they're such good friends, why they care so much about one another, and why they're willing to do anything for one another. And so even though they're the bad guys, and the main bad guy is like, he's pretty nuts. And there's a scene where he attacks Michelle Yeoh with a chainsaw in this movie that's freaking amazing and insane. I love chainsaw fights. I think we all do, right? We can all admit that we love chainsaw fights. But this just is a great movie. Johnny To was the second unit director on this film, and it's been talked about on commentary tracks and on the Eureka release and stuff before, and discussed on the internet and stuff like that. Like, people kind of think that maybe Johnny To directed part of the car chase, and people think that maybe Johnny To directed the nightclub shootout in this, because they have a lot of hallmarks of Johnny To's style in them. So basically these three run afoul of the terrorists, and the terrorists come after them, and that's basically what the movie is about. And I think the character work in this film is great. I love the visual design in this film. I think David Chung did a great job with camera work, blocking, the pacing. It's just a really well-made film from a craft perspective. I love the character relationships. I love how the characters evolve over the course of the film. And I love there's very organic character motivation. Nothing here feels forced for the sake of having a plot in motion. It's all just about the actions that these characters are taking given the situations that they're in. So to talk about the bonus material on here, there's a Frank Chang. I'm just going to read from the back here, because I should also tell you there's a lot of language options here. So you have it's got the 2.0 Cantonese mono theatrical mix, 2.0 Cantonese alternate mix, 2.0 classic English dub, 5.1 new English dub, and then it's got newly translated English subtitles. There's missing aeroplane inserts on here. So there's insert shots there's a very famous airplane scene on this in this film. There's missing inserts from that. They're kind of like outtakes, which is really cool. There's a Cantonese trailer, English trailer, the English In the Line of Duty titles, which you can watch on here. And then there's an audio commentary by Asian film expert Frank Chang. Let me show you the disc too, and then reversible cover art. So there's the disc, and then you get reversible. It's the same poster that's on the back of the Sean Longmore. It's hard for me to say that name quickly. Sean Longmore. I want to call him Long Sean Moore. That'd be his pirate name. Arr, matey, I'm Long Sean Moore. Let me know in the comments what your pirate name is. And then I love the Frank. I mean, I always love Frank commentaries. I was texting with Frank this morning about how I listened to all of his commentaries on these movies this week. So that's I watched each movie one time, and then I watched it again to kind of discuss it for this set. And I watched these movies, commentary tracks, Eureka. So I've watched each of these movies 4 times in the last couple months. The Taiwanese title for this movie is freaking amazing. I don't want to tell you what it is, but listen to the commentary track, because it's like he said it and I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? And it's like an aquatic, it's like an ocean title. It's related to ocean animals. I'm like, what does this have to do with anything in this movie? It didn't break even in Hong Kong, which I thought was interesting, but it did really well abroad, so they made their money back. There's a really great section of this film where he talks about D&B Films and how they were trying to do multiple things with this movie. By hiring Hiroyuki Sanada, who was a teen idol in Japan at that time, they were trying to break into the Japanese market, the way Jackie Chan was huge in Japan and Sammo and people like that. But then with Michelle Yeoh, they were trying to scale her up and make, from the previous film to this film, kind of scale up the budget, the prestige of it or whatever, and also add international stars to make her more internationally viable at the box office. And he talks a lot about the strategies that they would use to make these movies popular overseas, which I thought was really great. And then the Michael Chan bio, I think I talked about this. So Frank does not sell the same audio commentary to multiple companies. This is a brand new audio commentary. It's not on the Eureka release. He talks about Michael Chan, and Michael Chan's history is insane. And I don't want to tell you everything about him. In a nutshell, let me see if I can reduce it to 3 bullet points without taking away the fact that you should listen to Frank on this commentary track. He was at one point a cop. He was also a triad. He was a champion boxer. Now he's an actor. It's like, what? This guy has lived like 10 lives. It's amazing. And he's a great actor. He's great as like really scary, serious bad guy, but he's also great in films where he's doing comedy and he's like mocking his image as like a serious badass bad guy. So that's Royal Warriors. And that brings us to Yes Man. It was actually made first, which came out in 1985, was directed by Corey Yuen. And this is the first Girls with Guns movie. Like the whole genre comes from this film. Michelle Yeoh, Cynthia Rothrock. This is just an absolutely classic film, and I don't think a ton needs to be said about it. The only thing I have trouble with in this movie is the Choi Hart character. I don't know why, because I like him as an actor in other movies, but there's something about his character in this movie that I find irritating. He's not in a lot of the movie. The serious stuff in this movie works like gangbusters. Like, obviously, if you've seen Righting Wrongs, you know that Corey Yuen is a fantastic director of serious, dark, bleak, like nihilistic action. This movie does bear some similarities to Righting Wrongs, which is really interesting in that they're both about people who work for law enforcement agencies who are trying to take down really bad guys who realize that the constrictions, like the bureaucratic constrictions of the framework of the law, doesn't always allow you to get real revenge and justice. And so they have to go outside of that to really do what they feel is their job. I think that's a really interesting moral question that he puts in his films, this film and Righting Wrongs. And it's just, I mean, the final fight in this movie is freaking incredible. Frank says on it, so I'll move on here to talking about the commentary briefly. Something that Frank says on the commentary that I really agreed with, I thought was really interesting, that I think is true of Righting Wrongs as well, is that this is an intricate movie that's tightly scripted with a lot of characters who all have their own goals, and their goals are competing with one another. And it's not a particularly long movie. It's like 90 minutes, there's 93 minutes. And like in 93 minutes, what it accomplishes through all the characters, through the story and stuff like that, this movie is known as an action movie. And this is interesting. Frank actually counted how many minutes of action are in this film. And I think it's like 15. So to think about the fact that there's like 10 or 15 minutes of action in a 93-minute film means there's 78 minutes of other stuff. And yet this is known primarily as an action film, and it's not credited as frequently as it should be for how well written and well put together it is. So let me read you to the audio options on here. So this is a new 2K restoration of the Hong Kong cut. Oh, and this has 2 versions of the movie, I should say. There's a new 2K restoration of the Hong Kong cut featuring the Cantonese original theatrical mix in mono. There's the Cantonese home video mono original effects and 5.1 new English dub. There's a new 2K restoration of the export version that has the classic English dub. Then you get Frank's commentary. There's an interview with Cynthia Rothrock, which is 17 minutes and 50 seconds, almost 18 minutes long. An interview with Mang Hoi. This disc is loaded with bonus material. An interview with Mang Hoi. So Mang Hoi is in this film. He was also the action director for this film, and if I'm not mistaken, he also he was dating Cynthia Rothrock at some point early in her career when she was in Hong Kong. The Mang Hoi interview is 13 minutes and 46 seconds, and if you don't know who Mang Hoi is just by hearing me talk about him, I think it's actually Mang Hoi. I think that's how you pronounce it, and I apologize for my horrible pronunciation, but he kind of looks like Yoon Biu, and he's in like all the Sammo and like movies and some of the Jackie movies and stuff like that. So you'll 100% recognize him when you see him. And kind of the setup of this movie, if you're not familiar, is she's a cop from Scotland Yard. She's a Hong Kong cop, and there's bad guys, and they've stolen this thing. And the Mang Hoi character and John Shum is in this movie, and John Shum and Mang Hoi, they like rob hotel rooms. They dress up as waiters and rob hotel rooms. That's basically the setup. And so they steal this MacGuffin device type of thing that everyone's looking for. And so all these people are coming after one another. It's a pretty simple, in terms of like having a MacGuffin at the center of it. It's a relatively simple setup. But as Frank talks about in the commentary, it's pretty intricate. And this is true of righting wrongs too. There's a lot of characters in that movie, and Corey Yuen is very good at, and I think Hong Kong cinema in general is very good at orchestrating films with multiple characters who all have their own desires. It's more decentralized than American films, where you tend to have a single protagonist who may be a co-protagonist, and then their supporting characters their desires are meaningless, and only the desire of the protagonist is what drives the film. That is not the case with Hong Kong films. I think Corey Yuen in this film and in Righting Wrongs did a really good job of that sense of diffusion of the central thrust of the narrative through multiple characters rather than focusing it on one protagonist. There's also Michelle Yeoh interview on here, which is 15 minutes and 15 seconds. I've seen this interview before. I don't remember where. It may have been on Magnificent Warriors from Eureka. It may have been on Yes Man from Eureka. I've seen it before. It's really cool. She talks about how she started watching Chinese language movies when she was a kid because of her mom liked them. And she talks about working with Jackie Chan and doing stunts and like her whole career up until that point. It's a really great interview. So there's like 45 minutes worth of interviews on here. And then there's a select scene commentary with Cynthia Rothrock and Frank Zheng, where they watched the two big action set pieces involving Cynthia Rothrock in this film. And then they just Cynthia walks him through them and tell like, this was a set, we were filming overnight in this scene, and we were doing this, this, and this, and this is what it was like working with these guys. And, we would show up to the set and we had practiced choreography, but there were things on the set where Corey Yuen or Mang Hoi would be like, let's use that instead of this other thing that we planned. Like they wanted to use pieces of the set, so the choreography would change a lot. And it's really interesting to hear her talk about how it worked for her coming into the industry, learning their way of doing things, trying to do the stunts and the fights and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. And then there's a 10.5-minute mini documentary on here. And let me tell you what the name of it is. Battling Babes. I should have remembered that. Battling Babes. Which is like women who star in action films. This is a great title. Yeah, Battling Babes. I'm sure they were really happy with that. It's women who star in action films. So it's Michiko Nishiwaki is in here, Moon Lee, Yukari Oshima, Cynthia Rothrock, a few others, and they just kind of talk about what it's like being in the industry, what their training is, how they got into it, and stuff like that. And then the Frank commentary also, I should mention, has a really good history of D&B on it, so you can learn all about D&B Films who put this movie out. So that was really, really cool. So we got 2 discs left. In the Line of Duty 3, an interesting film in this series, because when I first watched these films and knowing them by reputation and what I knew about the series and stuff, I would have assumed that most people would say this was their least favorite film in this series. And a lot of people, since the Eureka releases came out and now with this one, have said this is their favorite film in this series. I think that's really interesting. This is a very hard-edged, no-nonsense, just brutal, grindhouse action movie that does not screw around at all. Cynthia Khan is in it, and this was her film debut. This film came out in 1988. It was directed by Arthur Wong and Brandy Yoon, and it also stars Michio Nishiwaki and Hiroshi Fujioka. Now, Hiroshi Fujioka, who is Kamen Rider, right? I think I've never seen Kamen Rider, but I think he's very famous from that. He plays a cop in Japan. The setup is there's this like communist guerrilla faction, Red Army faction type of terrorist group who shoots up this Japanese jewelry show. And they steal a bunch of jewels as funding for their, communist guerrilla initiatives. And during the process of this, they kill a cop in Japan. So the Hiroshi Fujioka character comes after them. Cynthia Khan is a cop in Hong Kong, and when he follows them to Hong Kong and teams up with her. And this is just like a no-nonsense, hard-ass, blood, insane fight scene, shooting, like, just serious action movie. Michael Worth and Frank Jang, who did the commentary track on here, point out the fact that they think the action in this movie is much more innovative than the action in the fourth film being a far more famous film in the West. And they kind of break down why that is, and it's an interesting analysis. Frank really loves this movie. It's always interesting to hear him talk about it, because he did a Eureka commentary too. The one thing that I will say about this film although I should also mention, this is, again, my fourth time seeing this movie in the past couple months. I think this movie gets better the more times I see it. I like it more each time I rewatch it. The villains are fantastic characters in this movie. They have this like weird sadistic relationship where, like, I think the most interesting character in this movie is the Michiko Nishiwaki character. She's devoted to the cause. She's in love with this guy who's her partner, and they have this weird, violent sexual relationship. And it was a very famous, I think, at least among fans of these films, a very famous and completely insane sex scene in this movie that involves drinking blood and cutting people's hair off and glistening skin and some ballet moves, I think, in the midst of their tryst. It's a pretty wild scene. And it got nudity, like straight up full-on nudity in it, which is, you don't see a ton of in a lot of these Hong Kong action movies. You see them, obviously, you see it a lot in the Category 3 films, but not as much in the more mainstream action movies. The Michio Nishiwaki character, though, to return to that, she has a dream of like something that she wants beyond her life. And there's this really sad but amazing scene where you can see her wanting something more, and she wants to be in love with this guy, and she wants to go away with him and retire from this life of violence and relentless pursuit. And it's really, really good filmmaking in that she has a piece of paper that represents her dream. And there's a kind of this moment where she realizes, given the life choices that she's made, that dream is impossible, and the piece of paper floats out the window and floats away. And there's like a sadness to her character that I think is really interesting, and it kind of gives a lot of depth and texture to this film. So to tell you what is on here, there's obviously the brand new artwork by Sean Longmore and the reversible sleeve. You get the new 2K restoration featuring the 2.0 Cantonese mono with English subtitles, and there's a 2.0 English mono on here. There's the audio commentary with Frank Jang and Michael Worth, which I will talk about in a second. Hong Kong trailer, English credits, and the John Shum interview with Frédéric Ambroisine. So I talked about this interview when the Eureka release came out, and I really think that interview is worth the price of a disc on its own. This interview is amazing. John Shum talks it's like 20-something minutes long, and he talks in such great detail about, like, he produced these movies, and he produced a lot of other fantastic movies, and he's an actor, so he's a comedian. He's in the Pom Pom movies, he's in Yes Madam, he's in the Lucky Stars movies, like, he's in a ton of stuff, and you will 100% recognize him when you see him. But he talks a lot about the production aspects, and like, how did they decide to cast this person, and what were the casting calls like, and why did they make this movie the way they made it, and marketing, and like, he's very frank and intelligent about the business aspects of it. It's really, really incredible interview. And then the Frank and Michael Worth commentary, I already talked a little bit about that. Michael Worth knows Michiko Nishiwaki so well, he was at her wedding. So he has a lot of great insight into who she is as a human being and how that's very different from the characters that she plays. There's a nude scene with her in this film. So Frank kind of asks her, like, is it weird to see like a good friend of yours naked? And Michael Worth's like, I mean, I've been in the movie industry for a while, so it kind of just comes with the territory. But it's a really great commentary track. And as I've said a million times before, I really like the rapport they have. Michael Worth, there's a really interesting bit where Michael Worth kind of does some analysis of like how a scene is put together, and like how a sequence works, and how it's really smart that they, put this character here and then bring them back over here, and just like the craft aspects of filmmaking, really, really cool. And then of course he talks a little bit about the fighting styles and stuff like that, which brings us to In the Line of Duty 4. Maybe you've seen this guy before. His name is Donnie Yen. Michael Wong is back in the series. Cynthia Khan is back. And directed by Yuen Woo-ping. Came out in 1980. 9. I mean, my impression of this series was this was kind of like the fan favorite. Interestingly enough, I saw someone post on Twitter this morning that this was their least favorite, having just watched all of the films because this set just came out. I was really, really surprised to hear that. To me, this and Royal Warriors are my joint favorites in the series. They're very different movies, and they're both absolutely fantastic. So, the setup of the movie is Donnie Yen is an American cop, and Cynthia Khan plays the same character she played in The Line of Duty 4, and she's over in the US helping with some kind of case. And there's this immigrant character from Hong Kong who runs afoul of these bad guys and has to kind of go underground and escape. This is in Seattle. And he comes back to Hong Kong and he sees his mom, and Cynthia Rothrock and Donnie Yen are kind of chasing after him. And the Michael Wong character is Donnie Yen's like buddy slash kind of superior in the police force in Seattle. And so he ends up coming back to Hong Kong with them too. And this movie is really freaking good. And what I think is really impressive about this film from a narrative standpoint and in terms of the characters is it gets better as it goes along. It starts out seeming a little bit one-dimensional, and then slowly over the course of the film, the other dimensions of the characters and the story that are lurking kind of in the background at the beginning start to come to the fore, and it becomes a very multi-dimensional film with complex characters and a really well put together plot that is driven by the desires of those characters. And it's almost like the Missing Tiger Cage movie. It's very, very similar to the Tiger Cage films. And it's just, I mean, Yuen Woo-ping directs incredible action. There's an insane motorcycle driving in this film and great stunts, amazing fight scenes. Very good performance from Donnie Yen, great performance from Cynthia Khan. I think Michael Wong is very good in this movie, and the way that they use him is very interesting. He's playing a character that is really, really different from the character that he plays in Royal Warriors, and the way that they kind of play with your expectations based on what you might expect from him at this point in his career, knowing his screen persona and stuff. Really, really cool. Let's see what else we have. There's a 21-minute long Donnie Yen interview on here. I think this is also on the Eureka release. It's just Donnie talking about his career, how he does stunts, why he does things the way he does them, what he thinks is interesting about the way that certain characters work, how things work in Hong Kong in terms of the fighting and the action and stuff like that. There's a Stephen Hammond and Michael Wong commentary track on here. So Michael Wong, I think this is from like early 2000s. I think it's carried over from a DVD, and this is also on the Eureka release. Michael Wong hadn't seen this movie in like 10 or 15 years as he's doing the commentary. So it's really, really interesting in that he's rewatching the movie and really seeing it with fresh eyes, being like, oh my God, I can't believe we did that. Or like, oh, I forgot about that scene, and like stuff like that. But also while, having really great insight into like, how did he get into Hong Kong cinema? How did his career start? What was his interest in the film industry? Like, what was it like? Because he's not from Hong Kong. So what was it like going over to Hong Kong and working there and meeting people? And it's a really, really cool commentary track to hear his insights into the film. And then you have Frank Cheng and Michael Worth again. And what I liked about the Frank Cheng and Michael Worth commentary is that it starts out with them talking about the sushi that they ate, because I think they recorded the commentary track for 3, and they had sushi, and then they recorded the commentary track for 4. So it's almost like starts with like the end of their meal break, which is pretty funny. Michael Worth points out there's a lot of Taekwondo in this movie, which obviously I never would have known because I don't really know anything about martial arts. And he talks about the influence of the American actors who were in this film and how they kind of bring Taekwondo into things because of their training. And he talks about the mixture of styles that are used in this film. They talk about the differences between this version, the two versions. I should also point out, now talking about the commentary track, I just remembered there are 2 versions of the film on here. So there's the stunning UK 2K restoration of the Hong Kong cut featuring 2.0 Cantonese mono with English subtitles and a 2.0 English mono. And then a new 2K restoration of the export version of the film featuring the classic English dub. So that's on there as well. And so they talk about the differences between those versions of the film. Frank talks about how immigration at the time was like a big social issue in Hong Kong cinema, and he talks about other movies where you see that. They compare these to the Tiger Cage films. Like I said, there's a lot of similarities between this series and the Tiger Cage series. And then Frank also points out, this is just a funny little tidbit that I thought was funny. Frank points out in the opening sequence where they're supposedly in Seattle, he's like, and there you see the Canadian flag. So we're clearly not actually in Seattle. I think Vancouver is where they shot the Seattle stuff. So it's the In the Line of Duty series set from 88 films. Amazing artwork from Sean Longmore. I'll show you the box one more time. That's what she said. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. I thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.